Okay, so what I wanted to talk about today is the sort of secret sauce that powers cross-chain DeFi AI. So a lot of conversation has been had in the past few months about DeFi AI and what does that mean? Essentially, how do you enable the Chat GPT of crypto? Um, and from my perspective, I think the most important piece is understanding execution. So, how can it be that basically users are able to type what they want to do and everything else gets executed? This used to be called the intent space, and uh, intents are primarily how DeFi AI is executed. And so, because of that, we'll sort of be doing a brief overview about DeFi AI intents, and then from there explain how Mantis puts both of these pieces together for the cross-chain future. Next slide. Yeah, so we'll be doing a sort of just brief overview of the intent landscape, looking at what projects are building, discussing what we do, and then how this all ties into DeFi AI. Next slide. So what is an intent? Basically is, in crypto, doing one action is quite challenging. Finding a way to do something, especially once you talk about cross-chain, is actually quite difficult. And so there's been this emergence of a space where people actually want to solve the user experience problem in crypto, and the majority of those solutions revolve around intents. So I want to do XYZ thing, and intents abstract away all the complexity required in order to allow for the execution of exactly what the user wants. Next slide. So, what are the benefits of intents? Being able to just specify what you want to do, such as I want to buy a meme coin on Solana with my USDT on Ethereum. But also, another major benefit of intents is also the prevention of MEV, front running protection, and um, improved execution. So there's these actors called solvers. These solvers ensure that users are given best execution, and all execution is abstracted away from the user. So you kind of get these two major benefits, and that's why intents are sort of the stepping stone required for unlocking this sort of DeFi AI experience. Next slide. So I just want to sort of do a brief overview and present to you guys about the different types of intents out there, how intents are being used today, and why this matters, and also pros and cons of a variety of protocols that are doing these things. And so how we think about it is expression. So to what extent are intents actually expressive, allowing the users to specify a variety of different actions? Um, Execution. So how do solvers actually solve these intents? And then how are these intents settled? Next slide. So yeah, and basically just adding on to what I was saying, like we're also just as part of this survey, also understanding like how much are these protocols actually used. Next slide. You can skip this slide too. Okay, so these are the major projects doing intents. So you have CalSwap, you have 1inch Fusion, and you have Uniswap X. So a lot of these protocols kind of operate in the background for some major things such as MetaMask swaps and other sort of swapping protocols that people use in the front end. So just super basic capabilities of executing a swap. So if you look at CowSwap, the way CowSwap works is it's not cross chain, it's simply single chain and comes up with solutions by matching user orders, by basically matching user A with user B. Reverse trades. So if I want to buy something and someone else wants to sell something, then it gets solved by the CowSwap solvers. 1inch Fusion is a bit similar. They are cross-chain. They run an auction, and it's all settled via the 1inch Fusion solvers. And Uniswap X is a bit more of a permission system where they run a Dutch auction with a small group of Uniswap X fillers. Next slide. Then if you take a look at sort of the cross-chain landscape, you have Across, which is the most sort of famous, cross-chain intense protocol. So it allows people to bridge and swap really, really quickly between different Ethereum L2s. T3RN is up and coming. They're claiming to be doing something similar, and same with Aore as well. Next slide. And then you see Mantis. Mantis, we focus on Ethereum and Solana. We offer solvers on Solana and Ethereum and cross-chain. So what this essentially means is like we're kind of a blend of Uniswap X and Across, and a little similar to what Near is claiming their intense protocol can do, which is a wide variety of functionalities, cross-chain as well. They're not live, but we are currently live. Next slide. So then you have a little bit sort of an interesting sort of vertical here where the next real question is, okay, if you have solvers, how do you create a framework where intents can actually become a little bit more expressive? So things like conditionality, like if this, then that. So you have protocols like Essential and Anoma. They're building actual smart contracts to allow for the expression of these like complex intents. From my perspective, these complex intents can be mostly abstracted to now AI agents. And so because of that, we're not taking these similar approaches to these guys, but this is a way for more expressive intents to be sort of declaratively expressed on blockchains via the smart contracts themselves. Next slide. And then you sort of have like projects that are 100% focused on solvers. So Enso, for instance, offers this sort of blockchain shortcut product that allows for you to essentially just tap into any protocol that Enso supports. And same thing with Kalani as well. Next slide. So by seeing all these different protocols, we can kind of come to the conclusion that swapping is the major thing that these protocols do. Most of them are not cross-chain, but some of them are. And a lot of them are mostly sitting in the background. And so our general thesis is that we're pretty well positioned to offer a pretty cohesive suite of products sitting in the background that AI agents can now exist on. With swap capabilities being powered by solvers, we also offer best execution and reliability for the user. Next slide. So essentially, like, where do we go from here, right? So all this infrastructure is kind of on par with other people in the industry. Our solver network is live. If you go to explorer.mantis.app, you can see a variety of orders being filled by solvers currently, and cross-chain as well. So now, what we want to do is we want to be able to offer a generalized framework. So being able to have, multiple different AI agents operating, serving users requests, but not having all of these things become on the solver and on the intent protocol to solve, but actually on the AI agent. And why this is because my thesis is that execution is one thing and expression is another thing. So my belief is, AI agents become the expression layer and intents become the execution layer. Next slide. So this is kind of how we think about it now. Is, the current protocol. Currently, we have an order come in, um, and the solver network is tapped into our Mantis rollup, which is essentially a processing center for intents. And then we settle all swaps on Solana, and anything cross-chain is handled by IBC. So you can sort of then from there take this a step further and see kind of where we're going with this, which is we believe that users submit intent can now be actually sent to an AI agent where you can type, I want to be able to buy a meme coin and sell it when I make 5x. And these things, when they get triggered, are actually sent to the rest of the stack. So you can imagine Mantis becomes this sort of vertically integrated protocol that offers these capabilities both on the expression and execution side. Next slide. So, and how do we do this? We also just recently published a paper where we are able to take these more generalized intents and run them through a pretty sophisticated algorithm so that you can compose, simple language and turn them into actionable intents. So this paper, we sort of describe the mechanism, which is everything is a, essentially everything is a swap. So even if I want to lend or if I want to borrow something, still kind of from a mathematics perspective, it's still kind of a swap. And so we're able to take all functionalities, define them as a swap, and then solve for the most optimal solution for the user based on this routing. And the routing is handled by the solvers. So that's sort of how we transform the natural language into actual execution on chain. Next slide. You can skip this as well. So what does this enable? Well, basically anything you want to do on chain now becomes possible. So copy trading, limit orders, stop loss orders, liquidity provisioning, purchasing NFTs, lending, borrowing, perps trades, options trades, futures trades, anything on chain is now possible with intents and with this protocol. The cool thing as well is conditionality. So we now also allow multiple different intents to be expressed in a conditional way, such that a user says, if some condition is met, such as I want to make 5x, that is what permeates and is actually hits the solver network once those conditions are made. Next slide. So how do we actually do this? And like kind of where are we? So we have a network of AI agents now that are operating on top of Mantis. And essentially, user says, types what they want to do. The AI agent processes these different conditionality components I mentioned before. And once those conditions are met, the AI agent triggers an intent to flow towards our SDK. And that's where the solvers now execute the orders. And so it's really critical to point out that conditionality is handled only by the AI agents and not by the solvers. So that, this protocol with the solvers is just execution and everything else is on the AI agent side. So what this means is essentially all users with our Dice product that's coming out will be assigned their own personalized AI agent that they can customize, but all order flow is still flowing through the same endpoint for the solvers. Next slide. So the conclusion here is, this is all real because we've been spending so much time building the back end for this, because you can see sort of how the industry has advanced in the intense landscape. This is what allows us to, have all the necessary technology to be able to do something interesting on the AI agent front. AI agents today sort of seem like they only can tweet or make predictions or make signals, but they don't really trade. And this is exactly why we're building this product, because we think that, not only should it be that you get best execution on your swaps and you're able to specify what you want to do, you should be given the most amount of expressiveness for what you want to do on chain, but also we should have AI agents autonomously trading on chain. And I think we're kind of basically the only protocol out there that merges these two concepts together and can unlock this new future. So with that, that's kind of my presentation. Happy to field any questions.
Thank you, Ranger. If you guys have questions, you can type on the comment or the chat and I can read it for you. Or you could also open your mics so you can ask questions. But for now, my first question is, can you demonstrate how it works?
Yeah, so our AI agents product is actually coming out tomorrow, but I'm happy to share a link of the demo that we have so far. Let me just pull that up. Yeah, so essentially, if you go to our website currently, and you stake some Mantis tokens, you'll be able to access the terminal called Dice, and you'll be able to type things and do things on Solana. We're making a major update, where we're now introducing limit orders and other conditions. So like if someone tweets something, buy this token, that's coming out later today/tomorrow. So feel free to check it out. Stake some Mantis tokens and start using the protocol. That's a short video.
That's nice. My second question is, since most of us are devs, how can devs build on top of Mantis?
Yeah, sure. So we have a SDK. Let me just post it here. You can use the SDK for being able to build products on top of our solver network. So you can be able to send, what I was calling in this presentation intents. And then we'll also be making open source our LLM product. So if you wanted to, for instance, build an app that uses our AI agents, you'll be able to do so pretty soon, but we have not open sourced that yet. But once it is open sourced, we'll be tweeting it for sure.